Could you detail that more for us? You have $3.6 billion in lost opportunities here. What are these investments in what particular segments of the sector, to be exact? And what about Create turned them off? Or are there other reasons here for the capital flight?
Okay, well, first of all, to put it in context, let me just share with you the industry performance. Last year, we exported $45.9 billion of products, electronic products, which is about 62% of the country's commodity exports. Mm-hmm. And year to date, we're running at about $11.79 billion, which is 61% of exports. And this should put us at anywhere from $47 to $50 billion at the end of the year. So you can see that we pretty much overcame or regained our traction from pre-pandemic days. Okay. Now, let me just clarify what was the newspaper quotes were actually from a session with Senator Amy Marcos and PEZA during the PEZA forum earlier this week. Now, you know, the 3 point, well, what I mentioned was about $3.2 billion of investments have been redirected from the Philippines to countries like Vietnam and Thailand. And another 400 million could be, decisions haven't been made yet, but unless the situations change, they could very well be considered as redirected investments. Now, we have to understand that the decisions of the multinational CEOs at their headquarters are based on essentially where they can produce the lowest cost per unit for product, considering the operating costs, considering the investment, incentives, I should say. And what I said was, you know, don't get me wrong, Create is not bad. Mm-hmm. Create is good. The reduction of corporate income tax for domestic companies is excellent. But what we're concerned about would be the incentives rationalization. Mm-hmm. Considering our high operating costs, the power, the labor cost, and the logistics cost, the incentives help reduce that. But the reality is, even after the 10% transition period, many multinationals, and I'm sorry I can't name the company specifically, many multinationals have basically throttled down on introducing new products, if not investments, in the Philippines because they find more attractive options, which I've mentioned earlier. And so what will happen for an industry such as ours is that we depend on new technologies, we depend on new products. So if we don't get those investments, a significant number of those investments, then after the 10-year transition period, when we're running legacy products which may become obsoleted, the complexion of the industry is not going to be the same. We're not going to reach $50 billion. We're not going to reach the 3 million direct and indirect employment. And so I mentioned the tax incentive, the incentives rationalization. I mentioned the high operating costs. But there are also other concerns. For example, inconsistencies with some government policies. I mean,
sir,
some of them being
sorry, just to cut you off. Sir, can we just clarify if this $3.6 billion is something you had expected to happen, especially since, you know, the Create bill took some time to be put into effect. There was quite some pushback from the industry. Or is this a figure that is surprising to you more than was expected?
Well, you know, even before Create was passed, we've already verbalized our concerns in Congress, in Senate, with the Cabinet. In fact, when we had the Ways and Means Committee hearing in Senate with Chair Pia, SEIPI and IBPAP and AmCham verbalized our concerns about the job loss and investments. And we're seeing that right now. Am I surprised? Not really, because we've said this all along. But I am kind of concerned about the volume of FDIs, because on one hand, we hear the government saying that investments in 2021 are higher than 2020 by something like 50%. We're number 4 right now in ASEAN investments. But the concern there really is we're comparing ourselves in 2021 versus the Philippine investments in 2020. And that's what good. However, I believe the right number should be what are the investments Philippines is attracting compared to Vietnam, which is Thailand, which is 1.5 times. And we need to understand why that is so that we can put the necessary measures to kind of address the root causes and hopefully increase our investments.